Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. So, as usual, this is our weekly live Q&A community chat, and today I'm very pleased to bring you another interesting subject for discussion. How did E.T. and we get here? What is our origin story? Were we all created, or did we evolve from lower species? Some E.T.s could be millions of years more advanced than humans, and their level of scientific technology could make almost anything possible. Have they tampered with the genetics of other races of humanoids, like E.T. and us? What does the evidence suggest? And more importantly, what do you think? Join the conversation by, oops, I got to sneeze. Excuse me. Join the conversation by joining us in the live chat as we go live every Sunday. You're also welcome to join our Facebook group called Aliens and Angels. All of the links are featured below in the description. Check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and please do share my content with your friends. So this is an interesting subject. A lot of people are debating this here on Earth. A lot of people believe that we evolved from lower species. A lot of people believe that we evolved from monkeys. And but the fact of the matter is, this has never been proven in any way. This is just a theory that's been widely adopted and um, fed into the mainstream scientific belief systems. So I've got a few thoughts about this that I'd like to share with you. And I thought what I would do is just read a few excerpts from my upcoming book, which I hope to publish this year. And before I do that, I have a couple of announcements. I want to share with you the upcoming agenda for this podcast. So next week, September 15th, is our last group chat Q&A session. The podcasts that follow next week will have guests. And depending on how much information they want to share with the audience will depend on how much time we have for taking questions or infusing your comments into the podcast itself. But I will do my best to recognize all of you. So September 15th, the subject is E.T. Future Us. Is it future us? There's been E.T. presence that's come and exposed the fact that they are us, but they're us from the future. And they've come back in time to try to correct the timeline, wake us up to certain problems that could be down the road from us if we don't change our warring ways. And so I thought that would be a very interesting subject for our last live Q&A. Then September 22nd, my guest is Preston Dennett. September 29th is Nancy Thames. October 6th is the Kinsella twins. Both Philip and Ronald will be on the program. And I know that will be a very interesting discussion since both of them have had, well, they shared an alien abduction experience. I should go back and say September 29th with Nancy Thames. She also has had many abduction and contactee experiences with the Greys as well. So October the 6th is the Kinsella twins. October the 13th will be Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran. So those of you who are familiar with Dolly, you know that she's a lifelong contactee. And Preston Dennett actually wrote a book called Symmetry, which is all about the adventures of Dolly Safran. So she'll be here. And they'll be talking about their first book, but also their second book, which is coming out soon. October the 20th is Eric Wood. Eric Wood, he has a little bit different experience. He and his whole family have had Bigfoot experiences, but Eric also has a podcast where he's interviewed hundreds of people, and he has really looked at this whole UFO community, the evidence, what's a sham, what's real, and what falls in between those two. And we'll take a look at some different recordings of UFOs, and we'll just have a nice discussion. October the 27th is Jeff Selver, who's an author. He's been contacted by 27 different gray races. So he's got quite a bit to say about the grays. And then in November, I plan to have Elsa Dillon, Samuel Chung, and more people on the program. So next week is our final Q&A, so please do come and participate in the conversation. And then after that, I've got an exciting guest every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, noon Mountain. That would be 1 p.m. Central and 2 p.m. Eastern. Please do mark your calendars and do join us for this exciting lineup. So, yeah, so let's get back to the subject. And if any of you have any questions or comments, please do place them in the live chat, and I'd be happy to share your information and answer your questions to the best of my ability. And I think it's important for people to realize that I'm giving you my take on the origin story of humanity and extraterrestrials. This does not mean that my reality is the only reality, but this is the best that I have gleaned on my own from doing research, but also from the contact that I have had with extraterrestrial beings. And so, as I mentioned before, I'm working on getting my book finished so that I can get it published. And then I know that you will want to learn much more about these beings. Amazing, amazing beings. This was a very, very positive experience for me, changed my life forever. And I learned so many things while I was aboard the big ship. So, what do you think? Do you think that we evolved from lower life forms? Do you think that some kind of unicellular creatures evolved, sprouted legs, came up on Earth, started breathing oxygen? Somehow mammals came into being, then monkeys, and then humans. Or was there a designer? Was there a creator? Because the reason this is important is because if we believe that we simply evolved, we're on a spinning globe that's out in the middle of nowhere, that's narrowly missing, hitting other objects, flying through the universe, or I should say the solar system and the galaxy, chasing after a sun, then there seems to be a lot less spirituality attached to that theory. And again, it is a theory. Whereas if we believe that we were intelligently designed, and again, we can look at the evidence that we have, and I would say right off the top of my hat, two kinds of evidence we have that humans were created is because when scientists have taken a look at our genetic coding, they have noticed that we have, I'm not sure if it's one or two less chromosomes than the big apes. What somebody has done is artificially taken chromosomes. We don't know at this point whether they're of extraterrestrial origin, whether they are from some kind of earth mammalian. But my suspicion is actually this was done millions and billions of years ago to create a root race. And we have since then been resettled on various planets that allow us to exist and evolve. Now, the idea that there's an intelligent designer adds to the pageantry and the magistry of our solar system, the galaxy, our star quadrant, and even the universe itself. And then another form of evidence has been that, sorry, I have someone at my door. I'm just going to ignore it and hope the doorbell stops ringing soon. Another form of evidence is that geneticists have also found that we have, sorry, my doorbell just keeps ringing and ringing, so I don't know if it's someone who really wants to get a hold of me or what. So maybe you can just hang on a second. Sorry about that. Well, that was interesting. Basically, some kids came to the door and they pushed my doorbell enough times that it got stuck and it wouldn't stop ringing and ringing and ringing. So I went and fixed it. And then I came back to resume the show. And then the kids came again and pushed the doorbell again. And I'm going, oh my gosh, bad timing. Anyway, I'm sorry about that, everybody, but not much I could do about it. But they're gone now, so hopefully I can concentrate again. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. And Angel Wings, hello, Angel Wings. Hello, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. So she says that's funny. Yeah, I'm a little bit stressful because I hate keeping you guys just waiting with nothing going on here, but yeah. So anyway, as I mentioned, if we were created, and if was an intelligent designer, is there evidence of that? Well, besides the genetic, I don't know, splicing that was done that we have evidence of, because that had to have been done by someone far more advanced than us humans, because what they did was they didn't just splice some genetic code together and form some new chromosomes. They also removed the redundancies that allowed us to be in the form we're in now. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion amongst different groups about how the Anunnaki came and they created us as a workforce for labor to mine gold. And there is, some myths, legends, whatever about that. So, like I said earlier, it's not like I have a definitive, absolute answer on this. I actually believe there could be many realities. And who am I to say this one is correct and this one is not? But that being said, I also wanted to mention that they have also found out that there's actual binary code embedded in our DNA. And that's why I think that our origin story is much older and more complex than just the stories of the Anunnaki or the fallen ones or the watchers or whatever you want to call them. because all of our genetic code is actually frequency and can be transcribed into mathematical code, but also binary code. So I encourage you all to do more research about that. So I'm going to read a little bit from my manuscript for my book. And this is what I learned when I was aboard the big ship. So for those of you who don't know, um, I agreed to go to the big ship. I don't believe it was an abduction, but I don't actually remember being asked and me being okay with it. However, the way my memories have come forth, obviously I was pretty much okay with it. And I think that there was a higher purpose involved here, where the reason I was given this experience was because they knew that I would then share this information with everybody, because this is long before I had any idea that I would ever start a podcast or be part of the ET contact community. This is years before any of that. I had no idea what my future held for me. And so I was taken transdimensionally to the big ship. But while I was there, my experiences were very much like the three-dimensional, very physical. And then other experiences, not so much. When I was doing the political ambassador work, I'm often and mostly there etherically. That I am pretty sure of. But for the rest, I'm not 100% clear on how I'm able to do what I do. All I know is that I do it, and it's pretty interesting. So, so as other experiencers have stated, we are all one species. If we're humanoid, we're one species. So that says to me we did not evolve out of fish and birds. Some people believe there are avians that evolved from birds and reptilians that evolved from reptiles. I don't subscribe to that at all. In fact, I don't have never seen evidence of that, and I've never been taught that that is true. It doesn't mean that it's not true somewhere, sometime, in some dimensional reality, perhaps in another world, another timeline. I don't know. I'm speaking for my own timeline. So, in our contemporary UFO and ET communities, which abound here on Earth, there's much talk about insectoids, reptilians, and avians, etc., which supposedly evolved from insects, reptiles, or dinosaurs and birds. But these thoughts are based on the theory of evolution. And as I mentioned before, science basically talks about the theory of evolution as though it's a fact and been long since proven, and it's part of mainstream thinking. But that's not true. It has never been proven. It's never been more than a theory. And that is that. Do your own research. The theory of evolution is very poorly supported with evidence, and there are no facts to reinforce it. Adaptations, selective or crossbreeding, mental and physical development, yes, but evolution as theorized here on Earth, no. In my adventures with E.T., I learned that the universal understanding is that all life is from a creation, perspective. I just want to let everybody know that I can't actually see the chat when I am reading from my manuscript, but I'll stop and check in every once in a while to see if there are any questions or comments from anybody. So, no, there is no evidence for evolution. And in my adventures with ET, I learned that the universal understanding is that all life is from a creation perspective. The advanced technology on the big ship reveals that our species was artificially created with the fusing of specific genes and the removal of certain redundancies. This created a robust root race that diversified over time and continues to do so over eons. So this would absolutely predate the time period of the Big Flood or the Anunnaki. In fact, the Anunnaki or the Watchers, they are part of this root race that's diversified, but we're all related to each other. Now, those who believe they're higher up than us, they don't want to admit this, of course, because in order to have subjects, you have to have rulers. And that's called hegemony. And hegemony has existed almost forever on this planet. So I recommend that you do some research on that. Humanoids and humans did not evolve from monkeys, but were created and imbued with the spark of the divine. We are all one species with different root races and family lines. Yes, adaptation and cross procreation produces some specific talents and physical qualities, but we truly are one big, beautiful family. More about this in the chapter of my book on love, sex, and reproduction. Let me begin by telling you how this intergalactic resettlement program began. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how Earth was seeded. How did we get here if we didn't get here, if we weren't created here, if we were created way before that, and then we developed on different planets, and then for various reasons, which I call the intergalactic resettlement program, humans were eventually settled here on Earth. So now I'm going to talk a bit about that. So the ancestors of my ET friends, they started out as a rogue breakaway group who knew that negotiating with world leaders of dystopian planets like Earth rarely benefit the private citizens. So they developed an energy-based transdimensional system which facilitates individual spiritual contact. Now, many of you have heard about the Intergalactic Federation of Planets and different groups. My group is not affiliated with any of those. It's completely separate. So they basically went rogue from the established federations that govern our star quadrant, which is basically where we have our solar system, we have our galaxy, we have our star quadrant, and then that's embedded in the universe. So they went rogue because these federations are different political groups that usually deal with the political leaders of planets. And this group just went, no, that's not working, you know. They shouldn't have a say because this group is more autonomous and sovereign based. And so they started contacting humanoids like humans here on Earth through what I call incoming paranormal invitations. So in addition, the beings on the big ship who host the intergalactic resettlement program are not part of the secret space program, and this is only one of many possible resettlement programs facilitated by many ET groups. And space, as we understand it, is a very busy place. We're taught that it's a void, that it's empty space. No, it's not. There's a whole lot going on all the time. The ET members of this group are unnamed in human terms, and they don't speak English or any other Earth language. There are many different ET groups out there, and as far as I know, my group is not affiliated with any other group. Ship politics are anarchist and autonomous or sovereign in nature. Further, intergalactic resettlement has been around for hundreds of thousands of our years, assisting many evolved beings who face extinction level events, so this program is not specific to Earth. The beings that I know also offer those of us who are ready a training program involving scientific expeditions to planets that will eventually be resettled. The planets that we visit have everything established in perfect balance except for humanoids. And more about this further along. Let me be clear, E.T. is not here to rescue us or solve our problems. They're waiting for us to solve our own problems, come into power personally and collectively, and begin a new way to manage things here on Earth. We will eventually stand up for our personal and collective sovereignty and reject 3D social, political, economic constructs. And evolving Earth people are welcome to make ET contact whenever they are ready. So that would be in line with the CE5 movement, where we can make contact now if we feel we're ready, if we can hold sufficient frequency for interdimensional or transdimensional contact or even travel. Motivated by love and compassion, these ET beings sometimes make themselves available for near extinction or extinction level events to provide extraction and resettlement. Planets are not the safest places to live. Natural extinction cycles are common, and in our case, this is the 5th reseeding of Earth, which means it's been repopulated with humanoids 5 times because of destructive to us, Earth cataclysms, which are actually very normal for planets to go through. That's part of their evolution. If we are faced with an extinction level event, some of us may be taken, and if so, we may be able to take our loved ones with us. And if they that is, if they wish to come along and accept evolutionary ways of being. And for those of you who don't know, we can also take our pets with us. Yeah, because the beings that are here to help are very compassionate, very empathetic, and very full of love. Further, some of us can also personally participate in resettlement should we as a collective not come into our power and make the changes necessary to create balance and harmony here on Earth. Those who take responsibility for their own development and sovereignty may be offered a chance to resettle because they have skills and ways of being that will not cause harm and will add value to the resettlement process. In addition, historically, most people who have contact experiences similar to mine do not remember these events, but we are remembering more often now. The call has been put out there, and many are recovering memories of their experiences in order to encourage and educate the people of Earth in these critical times. So I just want to say one more thing about this before I finish this section. There is no way ETs are just going to beam human beings up because we're in the last throes of, I don't know, nuclear war or some kind of horrible earthly terrorism or cataclysm, because they would just be taking what I call the infection from Earth and then moving that onto the big ships or moving that onto other planets. That's never going to happen. We have to do the personal work, the shadow work, the ascension work that we need to do in order to evolve ourselves to the level where we would not bring harm to any of these beings or planets. There's no point in just taking something that's infected and moving it somewhere else to infect other places. That's never going to happen. There are many things that we can do. We can develop our own psychic skills and call in our guides, angels, and other truth providers for assistance. And eventually we must learn to do this. We can make contact and connect once we're able to hold sufficient energetic interdimensional frequency. This process is often called leveling up, ascension, and evolutionary development, but these terms all basically mean the same thing. Just going to go back to the chat and see if there are any more comments. Yes, there are. Angel Wings says, think that's why we say upgrades and downloads to unlock gifts when the sun hits us with high energy. Well, exactly, because it's all frequency. When you boil it all down, everything is frequency. And when we learn about that and we accept that, we can also accept positive influences from everything from the sun to those around us, including unseen beings. Angel Wings also says, I'm sure the higher angelics and the beings I represent or work with won't have anything to do with politics. We help as a neutral perspective that's good for humanity as a whole. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're working with them, Angel Wings. That's really important. And truly, I wish more of us were also doing so. Now, before I continue reading from my book, I'm going to share with you a brief promotion because I am not a rich woman and I do my best to cover all of my expenses associated with doing podcasts, but I could use a little help. And so that's why I do a short promotion on each of my podcasts. So I hope you will listen to this and enjoy it. And I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Hi, guys. Break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendom's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendom's orgone generators, commonly called orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns. And they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendom's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show. And we're back. I just wanted to show you, this is an example of one of the small Zendom's orgone generators that you can find on my website. It has a AAA clear quartz point at the top that's wrapped in copper wire. It has amethyst, lapis lazuli, turquoise, green and yellow aventurine. It has carnelian and it has red jasper on the bottom. And then, of course, there is the flower of life symbol also embedded on it to add intention. So, yeah, please do go and check them out. They're in limited supply. I designed them, and a friend of mine made them for me, and he's no longer making them. So when I run out, I run out, but there's still quite a bit there. So I recommend that you check out my website. And of course, all the links are in the description below. So getting back to the subject of the origin story of humans and also extraterrestrials, I'm reading from my upcoming book, a few excerpts, a few pages from there. And since there's no further comments in the chat, I will just continue from where I left off. So you might be wondering, what is the purpose of this program? Aboard the big ship, they offer a pre-settlement program, a resettlement program, and immigration to interdimensional space life aboard city ships. There are also exopolitical ambassadorship positions, which may include downloading our Earth experiences into their data bank memory system. As an exopolitical ambassador, I give reports and input from my personal human perspective. They value my perspective and indeed all perspectives from all humans. This is why there are so many of us who experience this kind of transdimensional contact. As previously mentioned, these programs have been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, and the resettlement program was originally set up in response to the fact that planets go through geological and political cycles and sometimes are not safe for us to live, thrive, and evolve. Examples of man-made, ET-initiated, and natural disasters that destroy humanoid populations can include diseases, planetary changes and growth, culling by some ET races, and/or the re-terraforming of the planet, as well as nefarious human agendas. My ET friends are not involved in any of these intrusive processes. Further, when a planet has been naturally terraformed or re-terraformed, it has everything we would expect to see on a healthy world, including the animals, insects, birds, fish, plants, oceans, forests, etc., in perfect balance. But there are no humanoids. Everything is there for optimal success: food, plant medicines, and opportunities for education. In the past, Earth was seeded several times by intergalactic resettlement programs, and in the case of what I have seen, there is no evidence of colonialism. Off-world resettlement results are very different than human resettlement endeavors, as historically seen here on Earth. Humanoids are created beings and are sometimes placed on worlds as intergalactic or interdimensional genetic experiments, but more often, and as my experience shows, beings start over and resettle because they want to. Sometimes their planets become inhospitable, or a social experiment needs a place to unfold, or something where the humanoids are already highly evolved and choose to be relocated. Before a planet is repopulated by humanoids, scientific expeditions are carefully planned and managed. In my experience, temporary settlements were set up for diagnostic and training purposes, requiring a hands-on physical experience. Before we would arrive, a quarantine area was set up around the camp location and training area to protect the ecosystems and maintain the balance and integrity of the biosphere. We would scout out this area and collect data, but I did not personally interact with any wild animal species while participating in this work. Permanent resettlement. When humanoids resettle permanently, they do so in small groups, which include 6 to 12 heterosexual couples of childbearing ages, and at least 2 elders, one of which is a biological female and the other is a biological male. Sometimes the elders are life partners, and other times they bring their partners with them, but many are single. As you will learn in Part 2, Chapter 8 of this book, the humanoids that I met live much longer than humans here on Earth. Reproduction generally occurs during the first 100 years, but they live for at least 500 years or even longer. Once past their reproductive age, they have a shift in consciousness and become learned scholars, teachers, and mentors. Most evolve past the need for sexual contact and transmute this energy into spiritual, paranormal gifts. The elders are also there to keep a detailed historical record of everything as it occurs. This telepathic record is used for teaching and as a foundation for the further intellectual and spiritual growth and development of the community. Records are sent telepathically back to the big ship to be added to the database memory system. Depending on the size of the planet, a few or many such groups will resettle, but all groups are small in the beginning with lots of room to grow. Each group brings with them a healing pod, and you will learn more about these in Part 2, Chapter 6 of this book. Basically, humanoid beings cannot just resettle to a different planetary environment without a way to recondition themselves. Life on each planet, and even life on the big ship, requires adaptation to the subtle and not so subtle variations in atmosphere, gravity, nutrition, seasonal cycles, and frequencies, etc. The healing pods allow for healing and adaptation. Generally, though, the second or third generational offspring are born with the adaptations necessary and will only use the healing pods for recovery from accidents since illness is very rare. So what happens is within the second or third generation, there's natural adaptations that happen within the resettlement community's bodies, and their children adapt very quickly in utero and then when they are first born and when they were young, so that by the time we get to the second or third generation, they no longer need to use the healing pods. If members of the same family wish to settle on one specific planet, they are assigned to different groups to protect the genetic health of their core community. As these populations grow, they will eventually spread out and form indigenous groups, clans, and tribes. Due to the wisdom of the elders, there will be no such thing as tribalism, violence, war, or colonialism. Remember, these beings are at our next level of development, and they've long since put destructive tendencies behind them. So what I'm saying here is that, say, members of the same family want to settle on one specific planet. Only one member from each family would be within one community. Although the family, say a family of 5, could be spread out to 5 very different communities. And this prevents the interbreeding that might break down the genetics so that they are always replenishing the population with different people of different genetic backgrounds. When humanoids resettle, they choose the level of technology they will bring with them, but each group who resettles on a specific planet will all share the same level of technology or lack thereof. Some choose to bring no technology with them except for their spiritual gifts. They desire a clean start with everything they need and use coming from the planet itself. And this challenge is what they want. They do, however, bring one healing pod per group, as I mentioned above, but in this case, they are no longer used once the entire population has fully adapted to their new home. Those who choose little or no technology in resettlement are placed onto worlds that have milder, more stable climates. Food and natural supplies are plentiful, and there are fewer risks to life or limb. We on the big ship assist with the resettlement for as long as needed until the groups are confident of their independent success. Since everyone is aware of the transdimensional nature of reality, what we might consider long-range communication is facilitated by the advanced telepathic abilities of the elders. There is no one way to resettle, and most choose a level of technology that falls somewhere in the middle. Some technology to make things easier and for more comfortable living. Some request a clean break from their source civilization, while others like to stay in touch. And there's a lot of free will and free choice amongst those who wish to relocate. Before permanent resettlement can occur, these beings spend much time learning about and participating in the pre-settlement expeditions to learn everything they will need to know beforehand to ensure their success. They are never just dropped off to fend for themselves. As I mentioned before, we on the big ship assist with resettlement for as long as needed until the groups are confident of their independent success. So that's about all I'm going to read from my book today. And the reason I wanted to read it from my book and not just say it is because I go down all kinds of rabbit holes and get off topic. And I wanted the information pulled together as concisely and tightly as possible. So that is how our human life got started here on Earth. And you notice that I mentioned that only one person per family group would be installed in any one community. So other beings, or I should say, yeah, well, I guess other beings or other people would be chosen from other family groups. And that's how you would get the genetic diversification that we see here on Earth, where we have what appear to be different races, although we're actually just one race. We are the human race. And but we have all different kinds of diversity of skin tones, making it possible to resettle in, warmer climates that have more sun, or lack of pigment for colder locations, perhaps that have less sun, and just all kinds of diversity. But we truly are all one family, including extraterrestrials. So we all have a huge variation in eye shape, eye color, shapes of our noses, how big our ears are, whether they stick out or lie flat to our head, the thinness or thickness of our lips. But if you took all of the external cues away, the internal is not that different. Now, there are some extraterrestrial groups who are a little different on the inside as well. A lot of the grays that people claim to have had interactions with are actually biological artificial beings. Because, like I said before, you have to be adapted before you can go down and be on a planet that's not of your origin. And the other thing, too, is we humans have really made a mess of things with pollution, air pollution, water pollution, um, soil pollution, GMOs, um, different kinds of herbicides and insecticides, and eating things that are not even real food, and microplastics, and on and on and on the list goes. So we're actually pretty toxic, and our environment is pretty toxic. which is why we're having such a rapid increase in disease, shorter lifespans, and infertility here on Earth. While extraterrestrials have long since put away those ways and have more clean and pure living, their bodies are not adapted to life down here on Earth. Not to mention, things like germs and um, um, viruses and things like that. So what they do is they use these biological reconstructions that actually do whatever's required when they come down to Earth, so that the actual humanoids have very little contact with us. And those of us who have been aboard the big ships physically go through a detoxification system, a rather lengthy one, before we can actually participate fully aboard the big ship. So, let's take a look at the comments. We have one more from Angel Wing. She says, I definitely resonate with that a lot. I'm aware of it myself and why we never fit in with other human families. They're not our actual soul family that we recognize as a more important role here. So, yeah, for sure. So that's about it for the program today. Please do come back next week and bring your questions and your comments with you. It's the last Q&A open discussion group for this podcast for the rest of the year. And as I mentioned earlier, I will quickly read the itinerary again before I leave you. Starting the week after that is our guest lineup. So although I will do my best to feature your questions, answers, and comments, the floor will pretty much belong to the guest. Whereas if you come next week, you can have more full participation. So next week is September 15th, and the subject is E.T. or future us. So are the E.T.s that we're having contact with, are they us from the future coming back to try to correct the timelines or change the eventuality or possible destruction that's coming upon us due to our warring ways? September 22nd, Preston Dennett will be here. September 29th, Nancy Thames will be here. October 6th, the Kinsella twins, both Philip and Ronald, will be here. October 13th, Preston Dennett will be back, and this time he's bringing Dolly Safran. October 20th is Eric Wood. October 27th is Jeff Selver. And then in November, I'm planning on having Elsa Dillon, Samuel Chong, and other people, and I will keep you posted as to who's coming up after that. So we've got a very exciting autumn for everybody, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today, whether you're here at the live or whether you're listening on a replay or an audio podcast. I want you to know I appreciate you so very, very much, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And that is about it for today. And we'll say goodbye till next week from the Aliens and Angels podcast. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.